okay, let's all come together. Let's talk this out. And now she keels over. You kidding me?
We gotta get this Nokomon so that she could pass over. I'm like, that's definitely not gonna work.
And the whole first episode, I was like, man, if anyone walked in right now, it'd be like, what the fuck are you watching, dude?
He will follow you into the building, and then if he sees you, he'll like blast you.
This chair. Have I ever told you the story of how I got this chair? It's a pretty fascinating story.
How'd you get your chair?
So, once upon a blue moon, I'm full of crap. At work we have this as is section, so like when stuff comes off the truck damaged, it goes there and it gets like marked down in price. So the problem with this was a customer returned it and said the like one of the feet were loose.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a $350 chair, right? This is an expensive chair. And I got it for like $10, I think.
What?
because it sat on the as-is rack for $50, which is still a incredible deal, and no one bought it. Customer returned it, said the leg was loose, and it says that on the little note saying, "Oh, one leg is loose." So I'm thinking that a lot of people thought that this chair was gonna like you sit in it and just like immediately crumple over, but that's not the case. There's not a thing wrong with it. And I bought it because I needed a chair because I was sitting in a kitchen chair and I hated it. And then my brother was going to throw it out and he was like, "Hey, do you want it? $10?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I bought it for $10, and I built it in like a few minutes. And it was like the only problem is that it's a little low, as you can probably see. And my desk can't go any lower.
Big problem. At least it's functional.
It's really nice when sitting and using a controller. Because using keyboard and mouse, it's a little less comfy because like my elbow, like the side thing isn't long enough to like rest. So like I gotta sit like this.
I heard there actually is like there's like a proper like posture and like how your setup has to be. It's like ergonomics or something. I don't know. Yeah,
probably whatever it is, I don't have it. Like I eat my room.
Probably why I have bad posture. Yeah.
Like I eat my room, so I have to constantly move my keyboard out of the way for my food. But
my desk has like the little keyboard slide thing. So
I have
hide
a drawer that I could probably put some stuff in. And actually, now that I think about it, I could probably put my keyboard there. In that, and that'd probably
be a bad idea.
It'd probably be a little bit comfier. But like I got a standing desk and I had wanted one for so long that I was kind of like, well, I'm just gonna stand all the time, and that's pretty much what I've done. I just realized I think the other reason why I look so tiny is the fact that I'm looking at myself because I'm farther away from my computer as well. So I think it's just I don't think it looks
it'll be
any
fine
different.
in post.
I think it doesn't look any different. I just feel very small today.
I like the colors. I like the color hoodies that we have on. Mine's like it's like a baby blue, but my lighting's kind of bad. Actually, I could turn on this light.
Mine's a very bright, like, orange.
Oh, that's a lot better.
It's a cloak hoodie though. It's Jacksepticeye Markiplier's clothing brand. It's a Minecraft Dungeons thing, and when I bought this hoodie, it is like the nicest hoodie I own. I'll say that much. But when I bought this hoodie, it was like what they had in stock, and I wanted to get something from them, and I want to get more stuff from them. This stuff is just a little expensive.
How much was your hoodie?
This, I think it was like $80. But I
think my hoodie is like about the same.
But I hadn't played Minecraft Dungeons before, and then I played it on my channel, and I just didn't like the game.
You didn't like it?
It's very rare.
What's the difference?
Well, for me, Minecraft is like you have a lot of freedom to do stuff, and you can build whatever you want. You can dig for miles and all this stuff, and it's like there's a lot of freedom. And then Minecraft Dungeons is like it's not even a great roguelike, and they're not roguelike, dungeon crawler. Like there's plenty of other games that I'd rather play. But I'm also like I was just like, why Minecraft? It just feels like a cash grab because it's like, oh, Minecraft's popular. Let's make something let's take a genre that's pretty popular and take a popular game and mash them together. And it was just kind of like, I don't know. I didn't particularly like it.
I feel like a lot of companies shows titles do that, like especially when they make stuff like like rhythm games. I feel like rhythm games is another one. Like they'll just use whatever name just to like get people to like get the game. I mean, it works sometimes, but
I guess it's good marketing, but I don't know. It just feels a little. I don't want to say scummy.
I take that back. With rhythm games, if they make it to where you know what Rayman is? Rayman Legends.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or like Harmonite, whatever. So like whenever you like do like the little rhythm stuff, it like plays a song. So like with like those rhythm games, perhaps they could like include soundtracks or stuff like that. Actually, that would be for a good game. Like imagine if there was like a My Hero Academia, right? With like one of the levels is you say run, and if you get the rhythms right, then you know you're like beating up all the enemies and such. If you get it wrong, then you die.
I've never really played any rhythm games besides like maybe some nostalgia for some people, but like on the iPhone, like the old iPhone, I'm sure there's versions of it, but like the game where you play a song and then you like tap it's like 4 like almost guitar things, and then you have to tap them as they come in, and you just do it to the beat. And I can't tell you what the game is called.
Is it like a piano one?
Kind of.
Or is it specifically guitar? It's like there was like
in the
one
shape of a guitar, but it's like little circles that you just have to get them in the hole as you and you just have to like line it up. Beat Saber is a game that I definitely want to try. That's a rhythm type game that I'd love to try.
You need like a VR thing, right? The headset. Yeah. Dude, I saw like this clip of like someone was doing, I think it was like parkour or something. They were like on top of a building, and then like, you know, in the outside world, someone like pushed her, and then she like in game fell off the building, and then like the girl in real life just like went face first into the ground, you know, with the headset on. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, the headset's like completely broken now.
Well, that's not crazy. That's not where I thought you were going with it. I was gonna say, is there a chance that you saw the same video I watched this morning? Because we're gonna get into it later, but I watched a very sad movie this morning, and then immediately after I needed something else, so I started looking for YouTube, like just desperately, like, you know, it's like the thing of like after watching a horror movie, looking up like pictures of kittens. I just needed something, and then I was looking through YouTube Shorts, and I found this one where this girl played Beat Saber and played this like really hard song on piano, and it was really cool looking. I don't know, like I'll have to send you the video because it was really cool looking. And she's done a whole bunch of them. And it's like some of the stuff people can do in Beat Saber is pretty impressive. It's just like lining up, but it's like you gotta actually move your arms and shit. And I'm like,
I don't think my shoulders could handle that.
Can you tell I'm a gamer that I'm like, man, you gotta move your arms like up and down, and like, holy crap, that's crazy. That's such an intense workout.
Have you ever tried the you own like Mario Tennis Aces, right, on the Switch? Have you tried like the feature, the remote feature?
No. Where
you can move it around like a tennis thing? It's kind of like that. I think that's cool.
I have only, or the most amount I've played of Mario Tennis was like the beginning, and then I played a couple levels, and then realized I was really bad at the game, and I haven't played it since.
Oh, I thought it was easy. I mean, I play tennis, so I know it's easy. But I want to try playing like all the levels like with the remote, because the remote's pretty hard to use. But then like all the not combos, but like button combinations to hit like special shots and stuff, kind of tricky.
Well, yeah, because I didn't like do anything specific, so I don't know when it's like, oh, use your drop shot, and I'm like, I don't know what the advantage gives me, but I'm gonna hit it. I'm gonna press that button. And I'm like, yo, let's go, baby.
Yo, one day we gotta play Mario Tennis.
Well, after you just kicked my ass in Yu-Gi-Oh, no, I decline. Hey, let's play Bloodborne one of these days.
I had a thought. I was like, maybe I should change my channel name to like King of Games, but that's like a Yu-Gi-Oh thing, and I'm not that invested in Yu-Gi-Oh. I just like playing games, like specifically card games.
That's fair.
Speaking of, I was going to plan on playing Inscription.
Nice.
But I didn't get to. I really want to play Inscription.
It is a solid game. I've only played it for like an hour, but that hour that I played was pretty good. Not to mention that a short that I made from that video is my most viewed video now, and it went up like last week.
And that Inscription is what got Matthew to play Duel Links, and now he's addicted to Duel Links.
That's true. Yeah. Inscription. I played that, and I was like, oh, this is pretty neat. And then I think we were just casually talking, and then you mentioned Duel Links, and I was like, sure, it's free.
Well, we had brought up Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was like, oh yeah, like Duel Links is like probably like the most popular Yu-Gi-Oh game. At least that's free, you know.
I mean, I say I'm addicted. I've played it every day for the last week and a half, at least a little bit.
I think it's because I force you to. I'm like,
no. I'm
like, hey Matthew,
so.
you wanna play some games?
No, I play it. I play it pretty often, of my own free will. But yeah, because I'm like, the thing is, I also don't really think about like how I'm gonna or any strategies to duel you. I just play against the AI, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. I'm just wrecking shop, and then it's kind of like, my ego gets huge, and then I duel you, and it's like completely gone.
Yo, the competitive scene in Duel Links is like, it's so crazy. Like, you think I don't even think I'd be like in the top half. I think I'm barely at like, I'm not like the worst duelist, right? But I'm definitely not in the top half.
I want to see you try some casual duels like I did, and I got my ass kicked.
I mean, I'll one up on that offer. I'll try some rank duels, because those guys are true. Their decks are crazy.
Okay, all right. I'll do some rank duels one of these days. I'm gonna just build the strongest Blue Eyes deck you've ever seen, and then I'll sweep everyone.
There's a chance that you might not get too far, because I'm not sure if Blue Eyes is like a high tier deck. I mean, it's decent. Don't get me wrong, but
it's a high tier deck. It's good, and I'm gonna make it good. I'm gonna be the first one in. I'm gonna be the first king of games, and with a Blue Eyes deck. No one will stand in my path.
I feel like other people have made the king of games rank with a Blue Eyes.
I will be the first one. Do not take this away from me. I will be the first one to become the king of games in Yu-Gi-Oh. My dog is leaving. Okay, bye, Zuko. Yeah, don't you forget it. Timestamp this right now. Clip this moment, and when I make the video that I am king of games in Yu-Gi-Oh with a Blue Eyes deck, I feel like
that'd be a really cool series to watch. Just like helping Matthew, or not even helping you, just like seeing you get to
not even helping you. You're on your own, buddy. Fucking
seeing
good luck
you try to get to the high ranks. That'd be kind of cool.
What do you mean trying, huh? I'm gonna succeed.
Because I definitely haven't gotten that far. I think the highest I've gotten was like gold. I might be wrong.
Well, when I played Overwatch, the highest I'd gotten was like gold, I think, in competitive. But I only played competitive like one season when I was at like the height of my Overwatch. Like I was playing it constantly, and I was like getting.
I mean,
really good with Genji.
From what I've seen, like in your videos, you kind of pop off.
Well, I have my moments. I will say, if I were to pick up Overwatch now, which I wouldn't because Blizzard's kind of but the last time I played Overwatch, it was just like there was just no one around. Like there was no games.
Yeah, that's I don't know. That's what I'm afraid of playing like multiplayer games. Is like the base could just run out so easily. The game Jump Force. Jump Force is shutting down.
Yeah, I bought Jump Force a little while ago, like back in March.
Dude, it went on sale, like the most recent Steam sale. It was like $6.
Yeah,
I was like, dude,
it's like dirt cheap.
It's dirt cheap because no one's gonna play it anymore.
Because I wanted to do a video on it, because I was like, okay, anime fighting game, that sounds interesting. So I was gonna do a video on it, and then I never got around to doing it.
And that's Jump Force also has Yu-Gi-Oh, so there's like sets of kind of there's some Yu-Gi-Oh characters in Jump Force.
How the fuck does that work? I understand putting like Bakugo and shit in it, but like No offense to Kaiba,
I think
but
no, Kaiba. I think he has they summon monsters. So like I think they summon like Blue Eyes. Kaiba has
so
like
you
his
get to,
obelisk.
so you get to play as Blue Eyes, or
I think you play as Kaiba, but then your moves are like the monsters that you summon, and then Kaiba just gets hit by whatever.
how does that work?
Kaiba gets hit by like what, One for All or something.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It's like because you need time to summon that. I don't think Deku's gonna be like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll let you do your thing, man. Like, no, he's going right in for the kill. Like, he doesn't have time to screw around.
That's a problem I find with like transformation anime. You know, like Dragon Ball, for example. You know, stuff that's like they'll power up for like a really long time and then they transform. They could just stop the attack anytime they wanted to.
No, that happens all the time. And there's so many anime where it's like person's like, or the hero's getting powered up, or they're like having a speech to their friends, like, you know what, you're absolutely right, I can do this. And then the villain's just like, oh wow, I see you finally found your resolve. It's like, why were you waiting for him? Just attack him. Eden Zero did that. There was like when they got to the thing, I don't want to spoil it too much, but they like there was so much monologuing towards the end, and it's like, oh my god, you guys have spent 6 minutes just talking back and forth. Just fight. Like, you both hate each other. Forget this, like, oh no, my friends are the reason I'm here, and she's like, oh, I'm just evil because I feel like
the problem with Eden Zero, like, you know, fan service is a huge problem, obviously, but then their thing with like friendship, it's like it kind of gets old, you know. Like I know other shows do it too. It's like, you know, power of friendship.
It's gotten a little old, like 25 episodes in.
Because he says it so much, and it's like, yes, I know Shiki wants to like make friends and such, and that's like his side quest or whatever. It's like,
yeah, it's like,
make
no, it's
friends with everyone, but it's just
great.
Repetitive.
But the problem is that when all the other characters have the same goal, then it's like, you know, and they all have the same motivations. It's like, oh, my friendship with everyone is what's pushing me forward. It's like, I don't know. You start to lose me just a little bit.
Yeah, I will say though, like the fighting and stuff, some of the stuff that happens in like the second part of the first season was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree, because that was probably. I'm just trying to remember it now. Because the thing is, like, I remember ranting to you. I was so pissed off by that show, that now I'm struggling to remember the good parts. But I'm like, well, no, because I did start enjoying the latter half a little bit, and then they like did some stuff that I really didn't like.
Yeah, that was like what, the very last episode. Was that when that happened?
Yeah, yes. Should we start spoiling this show? I'm just realizing, like,
it's fairly new. I don't want to spoil it too much. It was disturbing. I'll say that. I watched it. I was like, I think you said they took it too far. I agree. They took it a little too far.
But I don't know. There was just a couple things that was just like, I'm enjoying it, and then it would cut, and I'm just kind of like, God, no, I'm not.
I will say, if you enjoy, I think the author's name is Hiro Mashima. If you enjoy his work like Fairy Tail or Rave Master, then it's worth checking out.
Well, I've never watched Fairy Tail.
I have. It's a pretty good watch.
I actually don't know why I started Eden Zero.
Actually, I was gonna mention. I think it's because I mentioned that Eden Zero was like better than Fairy Tail. I think I mentioned that in the very first episode.
I think
actually.
it might have just been also because it was short.
Yeah,
like,
the fact that it was short, and then, you know, I don't know.
It
right
was
now, I
split
kind
up
of think
into
of it
two
as like a
parts.
short fairy tale.
If I had waited any longer, I don't think I would have watched it. If I had watched it before it doubled the episode count, I probably wouldn't have watched it. Because I'm like 25 episodes. I'm like, okay, 12 episodes. I can get through that in like a couple days. It took me a little longer, but you know, which is weird. I guess that also kind of shows how much I like a show. Like Eden Zero, I would get through like 2 or 3 episodes at a time, and then I was kind of like, eh.
You did that with Fairy Tail too. You watched a few episodes of that, and you like have not touched it since.
No. and then like I watched all of Anohana in like one sitting, pretty much one sitting, not quite, but.
Before we get into Anohana, I was gonna mention like I had the same thing with like Hunter x Hunter. I was actually right on season 5. That's like the Chimera Ant arc, the arc that everyone says is like super intense, and it was. I like finished the show. I think it's like definitely my favorite arc. I put down the show like right before like stuff started going down. Not like all the intense stuff, but then like right before it started building up and stuff, and where it got interesting. I don't know. I put it down for like a few months and I went back to it, and then I just started binging it. And then I got to the part where it was really good. And I know you like brought up some a few times where it's like it kind of sucks that you have to watch so much of a show to get to like the good parts.
Yeah, well, I watched the first 40 episodes of Hunter x Hunter, and I thought the first season wasn't bad. I didn't give a shit about the second one, the Heaven's Arena, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was sat there and I was kind of like, this is a little boring. I know a lot of people are like, oh, this is great, but I was like, I was just a little. I struggled to get through that part, and I was like watching each episode, and I was like, man, I'd rather watch anything else right now. And then I watched the first couple episodes of season 3, and I'm on episode 3, and I haven't touched it since. But I don't know.
Season 3 is that is that Greed Island, or is that something else?
The last thing I watched was that like Kurapika met up with a group of people, and they were all, and then the whole gang was going to meet up at the
York New City. Yes.
Yeah. And that's the last thing I watched.
See, that's the thing, because like it sucks that shows will have you stop watching because it's not very interesting right before it gets to a good part.
And the thing is, it's like, I understand it. I've seen people drop My Hero Academia after the Stain arc, because then they're like, then they just do the exams, and then everyone's like, yeah, this is fucking boring. I still like that, but I still enjoy it. But then I'm kind of like, oh, but no, like if you just get a little bit further, then you get to all the cool shit with All Might. But then it's like, then that crazy stuff happens. Then it drops back down to like, hey, more exams. And then it picks right back up. So it's kind of like, you know, and then all of season 5, a lot of people didn't love. But now I'm like, wait, season 6 gets really good, so just hold on a little bit longer.
That's crazy, because I kind of enjoyed, at least I enjoyed the latter half of season 5, like, you know, up to the end.
Like My Hero Academia? Yeah, no, the joint training arc was one that like not many people loved, like in the manga too.
It was okay. I think it. Not sure if it was too necessary. You know what I mean?
I agree. I personally, in the manga, I didn't care for the Endeavor Agency arc. Just because it felt super like shoehorned in.
I kind of understand why though. Because there are some things that were said that lead up into what would happen in season 6. Right?
That's the thing, is that it's like, maybe it was just because the fact that now I was watching it as opposed to like flipping through the pages, or you know,
mm-hmm.
But like I just didn't really like, I don't know, it was just sort of because like it was just after My Villain Academia in the manga, and I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. But then it gets to this, and it just felt like a sort of like, hey, all these characters are suddenly stronger now because we have this giant fight, and it was kind of like, hey, we need a quick power up. So it's like, I just didn't find it all that memorable. I liked it more in the anime. But it just felt like a quick, because it was super short. It just felt like we needed like a quick power boost for the 3 main heroes in UA or in 1A, and then just to prepare for the rest of it. So I don't know. Joint training I liked because we got the there was some like necessary power-ups. I felt that was a little bit better, and I guess that's also why I felt the Endeavor Agency arc was a little unnecessary, because I'm like, well, we already got this established. But I think the problem was Horikoshi wanted like Deku, Bakugo, Todoroki to be stronger than everyone else for the war arc. because it's like technically everyone should be at roughly the same level. Obviously, some exceptions because like, I mean,
some quirks are just better than others.
Not to throw shade, but I'm pretty sure Bakugo's quirk is like worlds better than like Tape Guy. so it's like obviously there's some limits there. Actually, I just realized. Sorry, I was just thinking about. I just mentioned. I haven't thought about him in a while because he's done nothing in the manga. I just realized. Like, I forgot his character existed. I guess he hasn't really done anything in the anime either.
There was a part where you were like, "Oh yeah, like you're gonna outshine me because you're doing pretty much what I do."
Well, yeah, and I think that might be the problem. So I don't know. I enjoyed season 5 as a whole. I still think I preferred season 4. But also season 4 was the reason that I went and read the manga because I was enjoying it so much that I'm like, okay, I want more. And luckily by the time I started reading it, the big arc was just wrapping up. And now I've been reading My Hero Academia for almost a year now. So
that's crazy. The fact that was it like about a year ago that I was like, oh, you should watch My Hero Academia or something like that.
Right. It'll be a year in January. It'll be a year in January when I first started reading the manga, but it was like a few days ago. It passed a year. So like this time last year, I was watching like the second My Hero Academia movie for the first time. Because I watched all of the anime, obviously. Then I watched both movies. Then I watched the OVAs. And then I started reading the manga, like a little bit later. It was like beginning of January when I started reading it, I think. Because I think I picked up on like chapter like 290 something. And we're on chapter 337, I think.
Nice. Well, hopefully we can, well, not hopefully, but it'll be hard for you to find an anime that can top My Hero Academia, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I mean, like
I was
technically I've ranked stuff like higher. Like I watched
some stuff.
I watched Super Crooks, which was an anime on Netflix, and it's set in the world of Jupiter's Legacy, which is interesting. And that's a live action like comic book thing. Or sorry, it's a comic book thing that got turned to a live action show that got canceled, and then they took Super Crooks and then made an animated show of that. So I was like, okay. But it was pretty good. It was basically just like following the villains of so there's like heroes everywhere, and then like seeing what villains do in a superpowered society, which was pretty interesting. But the thing is, like, the villain that like you follow in the show is not really like, he's not that. It's like the Wreck-It Ralph thing. It's like, just because I'm bad guy does not mean I'm bad guy, you know. So it's like he does crimes, but he's also like, he's like, oh, I'm committing this crime so I can buy my wife a nice birthday present and like that kind of crap. Anyway, but like overall the show was pretty solid. Some of the animation in areas, like the animation overall wasn't terrible, but there was definitely some moments that looked really weird. Like sometimes there'd be like some like close-up of characters talking, and the way their mouth would move looked really weird. So I think like there was a couple moments here and there that looked very strange. Most of the fights though looked really good. But yeah, it was a really short show. It was nice and fun. And then, cause I watched a decent bit of stuff since the last episode. I watched like what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. I finished 2 series or 3 series, I guess, but like I watched 2 series in their entirety, Super Crooks and Anohana, and I watched 2 Studio Ghibli movies. Which last week I had only watched Spirited Away, which is weird. And now I watched My Neighbor Totoro last night, which was really good. There's just some of the Studio Ghibli movies that give you this nice like warm fuzzy. Well, I say that because the next one I'm gonna talk about does not give you any warm fuzzy feeling. But My Neighbor Totoro was definitely like I talked to you a little bit about it last night, but the whole like they get to this house and then the 2 little girls are running around and they're like laughing and having all this fun. They show up to this like piece of shit house and they're like, wow, this is great. And I'm like, and they have all this energy and they're running around, and I'm like, oh man, I miss when I had that. I'm like, it's 2:30. I've been up since 6 a.m. and I'm exhausted. Like, I'm like, I miss the days when I just had like endless energy to like run around the yard for just no reason, just because it's like
I mean, they are like little kids, to be fair.
But yeah, no, that movie was pretty solid. It was very short, but and then yeah, this is starting to get into some cry anime. Oh, actually, real quick before I move on, I started watching High Rise Invasion because that's on Netflix and it's a short series, and the idea sounded cool because it sounded like Battle Royale, and it's like, but they're on like skyscrapers, but it's fucking weird. Like some of the kills are interesting, and it's like set up in like a dog eat dog world kind of thing. So it's like only one person can leave, so like having allies is useless kind of thing. But like some of the stuff is interesting because there's like these masks. People like these like some kind of higher up gives normal people masks, and it's like in a different realm too. So like the main girl, how she gets there is she's sitting in class and she looks over and sees something, and then suddenly she's like sitting on the roof of a skyscraper and she's like, the fuck. And like a handful of people got transported there.
This is like a video game type of thing, or is it just like another world?
It's like they got transported to some other world out of nowhere. So it's, I don't know, but there's like some weird fan servicey stuff. I don't even want to say fan servicey stuff because that sounds weird to say, but like the main girl gets like sexually assaulted like 3 times in the first episode, and it's like, holy fuck, man. It's especially after just watching Eden Zero, it's like, oh my god, I'm getting sick of this. So I don't know, but it's like, and like the main character like bounces back and forth between being this like veteran like war hero badass and then being like a scaredy cat, and it's like really strange. Because she like jumps in the way of a gun like with no hesitation, but then she's like, oh, I gotta walk across this rope bridge, oh, this is real bad. And I'm like, what? So it kind of like, I guess her like bravery, I guess, keeps like fluctuating. So I don't know. It seems like it's still like decently interesting because like the masks are pretty cool because like they're like the people are being controlled and are murdering like all these people. Like they don't want to be doing it, but it's like they can't help themselves. And it's like, oh, if you look at the back of the mask, then you're immediately like controlled by these people. And like they have like special abilities. Like this guy, they transported some baseball player, and then when he put on the mask, he was able to like throw cannonballs like insanely fast.
Oh, nice.
So he's like just a normal pitcher, but he's like throwing these things through walls and stuff. And it's like, it's interesting, but it has a little bit of that friendship stuff going on because it's like, oh, the only way we get out of here is if we stick together, and the whole idea is to go against each other. So anyway, it's pretty interesting. I'll probably finish it out, but like so far I'm like kind of on it.
It seems pretty interesting. I mean, from what I heard.
But
I like the masks part, the whole sexual assault part.
Yeah, that was it was just weird. Like they save some guy, and then the first thing he does, he's like, oh hey, can I like see up your skirt? And it's like, what the fuck, man? Like, oh my god. So I don't know. I'll probably finish it because it's a short show. But anyway.
You mentioned you also watched Anohana.
Yeah, then everything else I watched is a bunch of sad shit. So I have a little less to say about Grave of the Fireflies, so I'll quickly mention that. It's a Studio Ghibli movie. If you've heard of it, then or if you've seen it, then. But it's basically like it's set in like the final days of World War II, and it's depressing as shit because it like follows this one family. I don't want to get into spoilers or anything, but it's real sad.
A lot of the Studio Ghibli movies have like an underlying theme and stuff. Like if you ever watch like Howl's Moving Castle,
that's
whole
the
movie.
next on my list.
That it's like the movie is set during like a time of war. so you'll probably pick up on that. There's like connections between that and like the real world and stuff.
Well, yeah, actually, well, that was the thing. Like, Grave of the Fireflies was the most, like, Spirited Away had a lot of magical stuff going on. My Neighbor Totoro had a lot of, like, magical stuff going on. But this was, like, 100% in reality. At least it seemed like it. Yeah, no, there was nothing all that, like supernatural that happened, I guess.
The Howl's Moving Castle, yeah, it has, like, some magical elements. But that's just to, like, tie the two, like, kind of magic and also reality together to, like, make a movie. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, Grave of the Fireflies, though, was just depressing as shit. And because the thing is, I wanted to watch it, but I was tired last night, and then I woke up this morning, and I was still thinking about it, and then I watched it, and then I cried. Well, I shed a few tears. And so, yeah, I guess, like, I finally found something that made me cry. I actually found another thing that made me cry. We're going to get into it in a second. Yeah, no, it's a good movie. I recommend watching it. It's just, like, prepare yourself. So, yeah, I watched Anohana because Davis has recommended it to me a couple times. It was on Netflix. It was a short series. Like, really short. It's only 11 episodes.
Yeah. When I recommended it to you, I didn't think you'd like it.
I am insulted now.
Because from my perspective, I was like, oh, Matthew likes My Hero Academia,
like
Jujutsu Kaisen, a lot of shonen anime, right?
Yeah.
At that time, you hadn't watched like a lot of like slice of life or any romance, shoujo anime, sad anime either. You've pretty much only stuck to shonen. So recommending Anohana was kind of like hit or miss. But then you started to watch like some of the stuff that Kay and I had recommended, like Words Bubble, like Soda Pop,
like Soda Pop and A Silent Voice. I watched. Was that? I mean, you guys recommend some like recommend like Cardcaptor Sakura and that one baking show. That I can't spell. And I'm like, I haven't watched those yet. But the movies are easy, and Anohana is a short show, so it's like that stuff's really easy. I think like it'll be a while before I get around to like Fairy Tail or like some of those longer shows. Because I mean, the longest show I've watched in recent memory is like I think is Eden Zero, like that I've watched in the last like few months. I think is Eden Zero, and that's only 25 episodes. So, I mean, if you add up everything I've like, because like Supercook's 13 episodes and like Anohana is 11, so it's like that's essentially one season. But anyway, can we get into spoilers with Anohana because that's an old show? It's like 10
it's like a decade old. When I first saw Anohana, I was in high school. I was watching it with my girlfriend at the time because she had recommended it to me. I don't think we watched it together though. Weird concept, I know, but it made me cry. And then she had recommended me like Your Lie in April. I still haven't finished it. I know what happens, but I do want to watch it because I do want to shed some tears. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, no, I think that's where I was at, was the fact that I was just like, maybe I can't cry anymore. And I still didn't like even Grave of the Fireflies, I didn't like bawl my eyes out. But it's definitely, I was just very sad. And Anohana, basically, for those that don't know what Anohana is about, it's basically about this like group of friends, and one of the friends dies when they're young, and then it cuts to 5 years later, and then like the friends have grown apart because of her death, and the main character is seeing her ghost, and now it's like they have to come together and like help her pass on to the afterlife. So, and then like the main character was in love with her, and then there's this weird like whole like love. What did I say? Pentagon.
There's like
it's a little too closely connected. Because it's like this guy likes her, but she likes him, and he doesn't care.
Except what's his name? Popo, the big guy.
Yeah, he
does his own thing. He travels.
But he was arguably the most like he was the one that was the most depressing to see break. I also think he was the last one. I guess Jintan technically broke at the very end, but yeah, no, I was pretty chill throughout most of it. The whole concept is very sad because it's like this girl died when she was very young, and like that alone is very sad. And now it's like this group of friends grew apart, and now they're coming together, and like they're not really able to like mesh as well because they have a lot of not grudge against each other, but it's sort of, I don't know.
I like that there was a little drama in the show, like between especially like the girl characters.
There was a lot of drama.
There's a lot of drama.
Oh boy.
It's
and it was so weird. Like, one of like that moment when, cause like Jintan gets a job because Menmu, who's the girl that died, thinks that her like she wants a wish, and that wish is what'll get her to the afterlife, but she doesn't know that wish. So she's like throwing ideas out there, and he's like, all right, we'll see how this goes. So he goes to school again and I noticed that like as things were going on, I was like, okay, he's going to school again. He's meeting up with his friends. I was like, okay, this isn't a real ghost. This is a hallucination. And it's sort of him like tricking himself into getting like his life on track kind of thing. You know what I mean? But then it was like, actually, it's like, no, it is her ghost. But yeah, so like he works at the same store that the other, I can't think of her name. She has the pigtails and she looks like Asuna sometimes. There's an episode where she has her hair down and it looked exactly like Asuna. But anyway, she works at some like video game store and he starts working there. And like the scene where she like confesses to him and then he says nothing. He just walks out the door and he's like, hey, welcome to the shop. And it's like, holy fuck. Like, that's cold, man. Like, holy shit. He didn't say anything. He didn't even look at her. He just kept going. And then I was a little disappointed that they didn't talk about it, like, even at all. There was, at the very, very end, like, just before the credits, there was, like, a little tiny, like, montage, and it's, like, he was handing her some kind of something. I don't know if it was a note or what, but he was handing her something. And it's, like, I think it's sort of like, oh, they potentially went on to have a relationship. But it's sort of that, like, open-ended, like, you can fill in the blanks yourself kind of thing. But it's like they didn't even have there was no mention of it after that. She mentioned it a little bit to the other girl when they're walking on that bridge. And it was like, oh, you have no idea what it's like to not be able to love someone or can't be with a person or something along those lines.
I thought it was funny whenever they would flash back to when they were kids, and then it would just be like, what did she say? It was like, oh, do you like me or something, or like, do you like what's her name, Menma?
Oh yeah, yeah, and that was like
put Menma on the spot.
Yeah, and what triggered the chain of events. And it's like that part was interesting, like seeing how that unfolded. But like overall, I really enjoy the show. What I like, the tears are starting to build up in the last episode, or like in the last episode, it was starting to get a little sad. Like when he suddenly couldn't see her anymore, and it was like, oh, like where'd she go? Because she was like starting to fade away, and he carried her because it was like, okay, no, like they just said, okay, let's all come together, let's talk this out, and now she keels over. You kidding me? So then, he carries her there, and then suddenly can't see her, and then he starts panicking, and all of his friends are like, "Are you like messing with us?" I'm glad they didn't drive that plot point into the ground, and like it didn't. I it's part of the reason why it's good that this show is shorter, because if this is like 20 episodes, like that, the whole thing of like them not believing him would have dragged on for so much longer, and I'm glad it didn't. I actually like that because it seemed like for most of it, like they caught on pretty quick, because at first it seemed like they were, like he said, they felt pity for him because it's like, oh, he's just like losing it, and he's seeing her again because he's sad. But then like they believed him pretty fast. Especially, I mean, it helps that like Menmu suddenly started like making shit float. So it's like, and she was writing in the diary and everything. And it's like, okay, well, he's sitting right there, so it's definitely not him making this happen. But overall, it was.
I think it was also because they had like some like a pretty strong connection to Menma. I'm pretty sure everyone has a reason to continue thinking about Menma.
Yeah.
And like those strong emotions probably be like, maybe she is alive, or not alive, just like maybe she hasn't passed over.
Yeah.
No, she's not alive. She died.
But that was the other thing. That was that kind of like Jintai sort of had that moment towards the end of like, well, why am I even trying this hard to make her pass on? Because it's like I want to be with her, so why am I trying so hard to help her pass on? But because it's like sort of like, well, it's almost a little cruel not to. But I don't know. What actually got me to shed some tears was the very end when she like I was fine for the most part. Then they had the letters and I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, if it cut away then and that was the end of it, I would have been fine. But it was when I can't think of her name. The girl with the pigtails. She was like, wait a second, I can see her. And that's when I was like, oh, god damn it. Because then everyone could see her again. And it was like, yeah, you go. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's depressing. But it's also,
I guess
like,
I'm gonna cry now.
I finished the show with a very like bittersweet feeling. I finished like Soda Pop with a very like feel good warm feeling. It was like, that was adorable. And I finished that show feeling like, or finished that movie rather, with a nice like happy feeling. Even a silent voice that was pretty like, it had like the subject matter was definitely heavier, and it was definitely a sadder movie than Soda Pop. It was definitely more like complex movie, I guess. But I'm honestly kind of surprised looking back on it that I didn't cry at a silent voice. But anyway, I like even that movie I left feeling a very like warm feeling. It was very nice because it was like, I don't want to spoil it, but like I felt good finishing the movie. I also think the other thing I was expecting like worse going into it, because I'd heard about how everyone like bawled their eyes out during it, so I was expecting like some like,
tragic death or something.
Yeah, I was expecting like something like way out of left field. But yeah, no, like Anohana, I left just with a very bittersweet feeling because it's like, it's nice they're all able to move on now and everything, but it's still a little sad that it's like, I mean, still, it's like, I know it's a fictional character, but it's like this 10-year-old girl died, and it's like, it's sort of like, and like the whole friend group got broken up. I think it's sort of like supposed to imply that they're all like good now, because at the very end they had like the Super Peace Busters / Our Friends Forever, which I assume means that it's like, maybe we're not gonna like hang out all the time, but there's this sort of like bond we all have now that it's like you can't really break. I guess I'm starting to get super corny.
The bond is like, they all like each other.
Yeah, pretty much. And then like it's like, yeah, then Popo was just off doing his own thing. But yeah, that whole thing was definitely confusing, or not confusing. It was just a lot of like crossing paths. But
it makes like one of my favorite Pokemon references. Just like that whole episode where they're like, yeah, we gotta get this specific they're called Nokomon, I think. Yeah. We gotta get this Nokomon so that she could pass over. I'm like, that's definitely not gonna work. But
yeah, it's like, bro, we're on episode 2.
They spent the entire day just like trying to trade over for that Nokomon. Which I thought was pretty cool, because I was like, I'm like, it's relatable,
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that. I also found it like really funny how he goes to buy the Nokomon Gold, and she's like, "Are you kidding me? This is what you're buying? This game sucks, or it's old, or something like that." And she's just like roasting him for buying.
Not gonna lie,
give me the game.
I wish it were an actual game. I mean, obviously it'd get taken. I think it'd be taken down pretty fast, but I mean,
well, I was surprised at how accurate, or like how closely, like that scene where, was it that he fell asleep? And then she like looked over his shoulder and saw he was playing the game, and then she was like, "Oh, thanks for doing this." But he was like in the Pokemon Center, and it looked like identical to Pokemon Emerald. Like
I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like Pokemon Emerald and stuff, just like
Well, it,
you
it
know.
literally looks like they just took a screenshot from the game and put it in this little Game Boy. But yeah,
Yeah,
no,
for 2011 animation, it's pretty good.
well, that was the thing that kind of threw me off, is that I'm like, I guess I hadn't really realized how good animation's like always been, if that makes sense. Like I've watched a lot of shows recently, like Jujutsu Kaisen had that, and like Demon Slayer that have like insane animation. And I'm like, so now my brain is like every show that came before like 2018 is like hot garbage, but like it's like the animation's like very basic. But then I'm watching like Anohana, like obviously nothing, like there's not like giant fights going on in Anohana, but the animation was like was still really solid. Um, but it had a lot of those like anime-y type of things, if that makes sense. Um, like a lot of I don't know how to put it. But like I don't want to say confessions. But like when he was arguing with Menmu, because she was like crying because someone else, and he was like, "Oh, I'm stopping it. You gotta start thinking about yourself." Like there's a lot of head movements. His hair's flying all over the place, and I'm like, in real life, it just be like you're just standing there and be like, "Hey, stop doing that."
I remember when we were playing Duel Links
yeah.
the other night, and you were like, "Yeah, if this guy falls back and like falls on someone, his hair is gonna impale someone."
But I don't know. Overall, I gave the show a 9, by the way, which is really high for me. I realize that because I'm like, that's the same. I put My Hero Academia season 5 at a 7, and then I put season 1 at an 8, and then I put 3 out of 10, 2 out of 9, and then 4 out of 9. So I'm like, Anohana's in the same league as like the tournament arc in My Hero Academia, which is like, so that's pretty high praise.
Pretty
Got
good,
it.
yeah.
That's especially for me. And it's like, I've only given one thing a 10 out of 10, and that's season 3 of My Hero Academia, which technically would mean that all of My Hero Academia is a 10. I guess if you like average it out, it's probably like closer to a 9 or like a really high 8. But still, I really enjoyed that show. And I didn't really have any
complaints about it.
Well, I was gonna say complaints. Yeah, there wasn't really there wasn't like fan service necessarily, and that's usually what drags the show down for me. There was some weird moments, like in episode 1 when she's like, or he's like making the ramen, and she's like, "Oh, make me some," and scramble, and he's ignoring her, and he goes to eat, and she like sits on his lap, and he passes out. And he's like, "Oh yeah, also puberty," and like that kind of stuff. There was another, not, again, I don't want to say weird moment, because it's like, unfortunately it does happen often in real life, but it's still like the scene where I can't think of her name. I know it starts with an A. It's not, is her name Anohana?
No.
But she like she goes to the party or whatever with her friends, and they're like, "Oh, we were thinking of ditching you," and it's like they're just like total pieces of shit, and it's like, why do you even hang out with these jokers? But and then that dude is like, "Oh yeah, she's getting pretty tired, so we're gonna bounce," and it's like, okay. And then he immediately tries to make a move, and it's like, oh god, it's like, again, it wasn't really like fan servicey, because unfortunately it does happen often in real life. But I've seen scenes like
just
that in
creepy.
anime. Yeah, I've seen scenes in anime like that where they really like play it up, and I'm glad they didn't here. So I don't know. No, my concern is that I'm like, maybe there was something I didn't like about it, and I just can't think of it right now.
You did just finish it.
I genuinely think that, like the only parts that I was kind of like on was just those like little weird moments with like him and Menmu, in the early stages of the show, like early like first 2 episodes, I want to say, because then after that it like kind of corrected course almost, and then it was pretty chill for the rest of it. And if there was any fan service, I just can't think of it right now. But yeah, overall, I guess I didn't really think about this, My Hero Academia is a 10 after like 100 something episodes. Anohana's a 9 after 11. So it's like,
True.
but the other thing is that another reason why that's 11 is because, or a 9 is because of how short it is. If that show went on any longer, I don't think it would have been as good.
I don't think for like the plot point like Anohana it should be that long. I feel like that should be like a quick and easy, help Menma pass over, be done with it.
Yeah, no, I think
with
that
some
was
tears in between. It was
I think that was like the perfect because there was a lot of tearjerker moments and it only got me at the very end. Like when the mom was like losing her shit on the kids. It's like, you know, that's definitely a very like intense moment. Like when the brother or when the fucking firework goes off and then the brother's like, "Oh, thank you for everything you did." And like Menmu like hugs the brother and he's like, "Oh, I feel a weight all of a sudden." And like that kind of thing. It's like, oh, that's adorable. The only thing is that they mentioned several times that she's supposed to be older, but like she looked no different. And I don't know if it's because she's wearing the same dress or
the ghost was. Oh, do you mean like the ghost of when she was older?
Yeah, because he kept mentioning how it's like, oh, you're older now, and it's like, is she? She looks no different. I guess she might be taller, but I'm also like, I don't know.
I think the ghost that stays with them, like hangs around the what's his name, Jinsa.
Yeah.
She stays like roughly the same age as like when she died. But then I think the one that they see, was it like in the forest or something? She's like older.
Like early on in the forest.
Whenever Popo's like, oh, I saw like Menma but older.
Wait, hold on. Maybe wait.
I think it's
sorry.
It's
you're blowing my
definitely
mind
two
now.
different ghosts.
Did Popo actually see a ghost? I thought he just saw that dude in a dress. Is what I thought that was. But was he there? Because now I don't remember. He might have been.
I remember.
Doesn't he run out?
Yeah, he was like, oh, I found Menma, like, but she's older.
He was like, I see her. I have no idea now. My mind is blown out because I genuinely can't, because I thought that's what Popo was seeing, was the dude in the dress just walking through the forest. But now I'm like, no, I could have sworn he ran out with them, and then they was like, hey, let's chase after them. I don't know. I definitely think he was probably arguably the most like fucked up. So it's like,
because he's such a happy character, you know.
Like Jintan became a hermit. Popo was like, you know, went and traveled the world, but I can't think of his name. He became an asshole, and he's like a college prep student. But then it's also like he has, like, you know, I will say, because I've watched a lot. I've watched some fucked up shows and video games, stuff like that. When the scene originally happened, when the dude opens the closet door and he's like, "All right, Menmu, let's go see him." For a split second, I was like, "Do not tell me he stole her corpse or like ashes or some shit like that and stored it in the closet." I was like, "Hold on a second, this better not go down that route." Luckily, it didn't, and he just had a dress that it was identical, and a wig. But it's like definitely like he's standing in his room and like petting this wig, and he's like, "Oh, finally you'll be able to pass on." But I'm also like, people deal with grief in different ways, so it's like, I think saying he's crazy is a little extreme.
I think there were 3, maybe 4 love triangles.
Well, you had,
it was like
Jintan was in love with Menmu, and then she was in love with him, kind of, because she said at the end that like, "Oh, I want you to be or I wish I could be your wife," or something like that.
And then the pigtail girl liked
him,
Jinta,
and hated her because she liked him. And then
so that's one.
Girl, and then like the glasses girl liked the other guy, the one that was a college prep.
But then the other guy had liked
Menmu.
Didn't he like Menma too?
Yeah,
Menmu?
Is it Menmu or Menma? I don't know.
I think it's
anyway,
Menma.
She liked it, or he liked her, and then but she thought that he liked the pigtail girl, and then because of how they hung out and stuff, but she was like, "No, he's gross. I like the other guy," and it's like, what the fuck? The streams are crossing too much. Like,
and then there's Popo.
And then yeah, he's just on the outside, like, hey guys.
It's funny how they revealed like Popo. He's like, oh, Popo, he's so big. Oh my gosh, the dad character.
Wait, which one?
Jinta's dad.
Oh yeah, no, he's cool.
Jintan's dad.
He's really cool.
So cool.
He's a great dad. But yeah, no, I think Popo. Because I think all of them getting older, they didn't really like seem all that different. I think Popo definitely had the biggest glow up. No pun intended. But I think because like again, Menmu didn't look any different. Or at least I didn't think she looked any different. But also she died when she was 10, and then like Jinta just had longer hair. Actually, I shouldn't say that because the pigtail girl, like she stopped wearing glasses and stuff like that. But like overall, she still pretty much looked the same. So I don't know. They were all like, if it was like it didn't say it was 5 years later, it's still enough that it's like, okay, I can recognize that those are the older versions of the characters I just saw. But if you showed me like Popo, I would have thought he's a completely new character. If it wasn't for Jintan being like, oh my god, Popo, what the fuck happened to you? Then I would have thought he was a completely new character. I know, puberty hit him like a truck. He was bald before. Now he has this like cool, like slick back hair. He's wearing like Hawaiian shirts, and he's just like, a beast. But I don't know. His whole character was pretty interesting. He like so casually, he's like, yeah, I just dropped out of high school. Yeah, traveled the world. So I went to, like you said, he went to Vietnam and stuff like that. And it's like,
yeah,
just casually. He's like 15. He's just like, I don't know how he pulled that off, how he got the money for all that, but like, good for him.
If there's another show I want to watch, it's Your Lie in April. I never got to finish it. I think I already mentioned that, but
yes, you said you watched.
It's also
a girlfriend of yours recommended it, but you couldn't finish it, or you didn't.
Yeah, it's also pretty like sad. There's also like a little love triangle. Yeah, it's pretty rough, but it's a good show. It's a good watch.
Well, after watching two depressing things back to back,
you should watch something happy.
I need to find something like High Rise Invasion is not really happy.
Or like Hori, like something like romantic, something happy.
Yeah, I think I need something feel good again. Like I was tempted to watch Soda Pop again. But I think I do need something a little bit more like upbeat and happy, so I might watch Horimiya. I was gonna watch Violet Evergarden, but I'm pretty sure that's a sad anime too.
I wouldn't say Horimiya's like upbeat. It's more like it's like romancy, kind of quirky.
As long as it's not like super depressing, I'm good.
Yeah.
Oh, I was also I mentioned this in before we got into the call, or before we got to start recording. But the only other thing that's made me cry anime wise is School Live.
Oh yeah.
But I said it's cheating, because I think I've already spoiled School Live before, on an earlier episode. So, like, if you look at the show, you're gonna be like, Matthew, why'd you watch that? And my answer to that is because I was told it was really cool and it was a horror psychological thing. And after playing Doki Doki, I was like, okay, that has a, looks can be deceiving kind of thing. Because it looks like a romancy, like visual novel, and then it's a fucking, terrifying horror game. So I was like, okay, and the whole first episode, I was like, man, if anyone walked in right now, it'd be like, what the fuck are you watching, dude? And then honestly, even after the first episode, there was still a lot of moments that were like, okay, this is weird. But it's a zombie show, and the first episode is like very cutesy, and then the last part has like a huge reveal, and then it's like, oh yeah, it's actually a zombie apocalypse, and this girl's like in denial. But anyway, so they have this cute little dog with them for the whole thing, and I cried because they killed the dog in the last episode. And that's what got me to cry, was because it was like my favorite character was bitten by a zombie, and then the dog ran after to go save her, and I was like, man, I swear to God, that dog's dead. And then they find the dog, and he's like bitten and hurt, and then I'm spoiling the absolute shit out of this. It was like they found the cure for her, and she came back and she was fine. I was like, okay, everything's good. And then they gave the antidote to the dog, and then it was alive for like a little bit longer, and then died. And I was like, oh, I guess he just lost too much blood. And I'm like, man, fuck you. I was fine for all of it, you know. And then like I thought my favorite character was gonna die, but then it was like, no, she's fine. I was like, okay, so the dog's fine too. They found a cure for the zombies, or at least if you get bitten, they know how to. They have a cure for it. And then the dog died, and they.
That reminds me of.
And it was real sad.
When you mentioned that the dog went to go help like the girl, that kind of reminded me of something that I watched last night. It's a game called Dragon Ball. I don't know if it's The Breakers or just Breakers, but it's like a mission game. You play with like other characters, and then right now it's in closed beta. But I was watching footage of like the gameplay, and it's like you're able to like hide in like different it's like kind of like prop hunt.
Yeah, Dragon Ball The Breakers. Yeah, I saw the announcement trailer for this.
It's kind of cool. So you go around on, I guess, a planet. You're like doing missions, and then you're like trying to avoid getting seen or like getting hunted down by whatever villain is there. Right now it's only Cell, and then Cell's thing is like he kills and absorbs people, and then he gets stronger and stronger. And then as he gets stronger, his sense of like, or I guess his intelligence gets higher. So at the beginning, he's like, he'll probably pass you if you're hiding or camouflaging as like a pot or like a chair.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you can hide as like one of those objects. But then if like he sees you as like when he's in like his perfect form, you're like screwed because he's gonna kill you. And then he's also like blowing up stuff in the meantime. So that's like that's definitely a game I want to play. Like I think it'd be really fun.
Like I saw an announcement trailer for it on Twitter, and I thought it looked kind of cool. It just seemed weird that it was Dragon Ball Z because I'm like, this seems like a really cool like horror game. But yeah, it says here it's a 1-on-7 online asymmetrical action game in which a band of 7 everyday humans try to survive the Raider, a classic Dragon Ball rival such as Cell and Frieza, who will hunt and evolve into an unstoppable force. It also requires like crazy PC specs for some reason, according to the Steam page here. But yeah, it comes out. I don't know. It says 2022, which is interesting because it says initial release date December 3rd of this year.
So I think it was the initial release date was probably the closed beta. So they're probably still working on the game, and then it's probably not going to release like publicly until later. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
I don't know anything about Dragon Ball, but it does look pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't think you have to understand like the Dragon Ball lore and or like the story behind it to like play the game.
I feel like all you need is that this guy's strong. Like I think what you just explained to me, that Cell, he absorbs other people.
Someone's like, out to kill you. You best hide.
That's all.
That's the scary thing. He like chases you. He will chase you down. No matter if you like run and hide inside like a building, he will follow you into the building. And then if he sees you, he'll like blast you.
Yeah, like that idea, I guess, has been done before. I guess, Promise Neverland. But I do like that idea where it's like normal people against this unstoppable, like, anime god. So what do they do? So I don't know. Like Dead by Daylight's another game that's like you like 4 people and then one of them's the monster or like killer, and you're like you gotta escape. And it's like that's pretty interesting. So like the monster's goal is to kill everyone, but it's not enough to just like stab them. You gotta hang them up on these hooks. But it's like then everyone else's goal. It's like it's so weird. You get hung on a hook, and then after a while of struggling, a giant spider demon comes down, and then brings you up into whatever, and then you're dead. Like dead. Because like while you're on the hook, your friend can run over and pull you off of it. And then you can keep going. And it's really entertaining watching videos on it, and I've always wanted to play it. I just don't have a group of people to play it with.
Oh, yeah.
But it looks pretty cool.
Same thing kind of happens in, like, the Dragon Ball game. It's like, if he's not in their, perfect or final form, like, they'll kill you, but you'll still be alive and crawling around. So then, like, someone can, like, save you. Kind of like Call of Duty. Like, I played a little bit of Warzone with my friends.
I'm down. I got the ray gun. Help me. Oh god.
But yeah, those kinds of games like seem pretty fun. I'm definitely looking for like other games to play right now, especially like on Steam or like on the Switch.
I have like an overabundance of games to play, and I have for a little while. Like I have like in my Steam library, I have so many games that I've never even played. Like I've never even booted up once. And I just bought them because they were on sale, and I'm like, I'll play them eventually. And the reasons for that is either one, because I'm saving for a video and I just don't feel like recording in that moment, or I'm saving it because I want to play it, but I want to like immerse myself in the story kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like Yu-Gi-Oh! While I'm playing that, I'm doing other stuff. Like I'm watching anime or whatever. I'm not just 100% focused, like listening to all the dialogue and everything because I don't need to. But like when I played through Scarlet Nexus, I didn't watch because the thing about that originally is I wanted to do it for a video, and then as I was playing, I was like, holy shit, this game's actually really good. I don't really want to like do videos on this. I just want to play it on my own. And then I did, and then once I got towards the end of the game, I was like, I wish I would have recorded this. But the only reason, I think I told you this story before, but the only reason why I wanted to do videos on Scarlet Nexus was because I had a moment during one of the final dungeons, and you could do these like cool like finisher moves, and the character like pose, and I was like, man, that would have been a banger thumbnail. If I would have like, I was like, oh, that would be such a good thumbnail. Especially because it's like all the colors are very vibrant, and I love having colors in my thumbnail. But anyway, so it's like I bought Tales of Arise because that was on sale. I played Tales of Symphonia when I was younger. It's been a while since I played it, but that has Scott Menville as the main character, which I always thought was funny. But Tales of Arise it's made by the same people that made Scarlet Nexus. I downloaded the demo for it, and I honestly didn't like it. I was just kind of like, this is all right. And then for some reason I still bought it just because like everyone talked about how good it was, and I'm like, oh, I want another game to like get really immersed into.
It's a JRPG, right?
Yeah. And after playing Scarlet Nexus, I was like, yeah, I want another game like this, because like it had some like relationship mechanics, not like dating, but like you could like there was a little bit of it was mainly like I know
friendships.
There's games that go deeper, but there was like it was mainly just like, hey, I got you this gift. Oh, sweet. You want to have a chat? And like some of the characters had their own like side arcs that were really cool.
Just like interactions and stuff.
Yeah, and like some side stuff, and you could go see these story, and like by doing them, you get better skills in the battles. But man, I really want to play Scarlet Nexus again. Like that game was so good. Like I was really surprised by how much I liked that, because I was expecting, because I had heard that it was terrible. Which is why, because I saw it, I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool, and I was gonna buy it, and then I looked up some reviews, and then just because I was a little like strapped for cash, and I'm like, I don't want to spend $80 on a game if it's terrible, so I look at some reviews. When I have a steadier like flow of income, like I wasn't working at the time it came out, or maybe I was, and I just didn't have enough money. Anyway, usually I'll like kind of like play first, ask questions later, sort of thing, because I'm like, oh, if it's terrible, I can at least make a funny video out of it. But I was a lot more, I don't know, basically I just looked at reviews and I heard that it was terrible, because it was like, the combat can be like kind of fun for like an hour, but then it gets really repetitive, and like the cutscenes are terrible and the story is like very generic, and I was like, oh, okay. And then it popped up on sale on PlayStation, and I was still like, I got tempted again, and I was still like, no, if everyone says it's terrible, I'm not going to waste my money on it. But then it was on Game Pass, which then it's free. Well, I pay for Game Pass, but like, you know, I might as well at that point. Now there's no excuse because I have it, and I was like, holy fuck, this game's amazing. And I like, honestly, right now, I haven't played Tales of Arise yet, and I haven't played that many 2021 games. But right now, that's like my game of the year. Like as of right now, it's not my favorite game of all time. Like that's not what I'm saying. But like out of every game that came out this year that I've played, I think that's at the top of the list. Like Inscription's pretty good. And like I haven't played the new Guardians of the Galaxy game, which I bought. I just haven't played it yet. But I don't know. I was just I was pleasantly surprised with Scarlet Nexus Cloud. I went in expecting a trash game, and like the combat, I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. Like the whole psychokinesis thing is badass, and like everyone has their own powers that you can merge with, so you can like throw a flaming car at people. And I'm like, man, this is awesome. And the story got a little confusing. I'll admit, there was definitely some parts in it that were a little like iffy. There was like no fan service. And I was just like, overall, I really enjoyed it. The combat, like even after I got to like 20 hours of what's his name? Is it Yuito? I think. Anyway, after like 20 hours playing that game, I didn't get bored of the combat. I still have Kasane's story to play through. That's supposed to be like 10 hours long, and I just haven't done it yet. But it's like there's some like time travel, time paradox stuff that happens in it that's sort of confusing. Introducing time travel into any story immediately starts to make it kind of iffy, because then it's sort of like stakes can become an issue, because it's like, okay, well, if this character dies, then can't we just like, Wimbo Bambo, they're back now. But then it's like they try to explain it away, but it's like, oh, but if you go back in time and take that person from that time and bring him to this time, then the timeline's going to be different. And it's like, okay. It's like no matter how you no matter how you explain time travel, there's going to be loopholes and there's going to be plot holes somewhere. It's just inevitable with it, which is why I think it's like, if I'm ever writing a story for something, I think I'd rather steer clear of it.
I remember you gave me like a brain blast. I remember it was like my freshman year of high school. We read this story. We like had these huge textbooks, and there was like a short story about, it was like time travel and like dinosaurs and stuff. Probably like my favorite short story in high school, because I love dinosaurs. But it was basically talking about the butterfly effect.
Oh yeah, no, that's really cool.
Yeah, so the whole thing, it's like you can go back in time, hunt for dinosaurs, right? And then bring the trophies back. Either bring the trophies back or like, just like have some, sort of like reward. But pretty much you're just going there to hunt dinosaurs. But something happens, like I think one of the lines was like, oh, don't go off the path, and then the guy goes off the path for a little bit because he's intimidated by I think it was like a T-Rex or something, steps on a butterfly. They make it back to the real world, and then suddenly like there's a different president, and then they're speaking a different language. They're like ruled by whoever it is. I forget what it was.
T-Rexes.
But I don't know, that whole story was just like so cool.
Yeah, the butterfly effect is really, really neat.
I like it.
You ever heard of Until Dawn?
No.
It's made by the same people that made like House of Ashes, which is what I played recently. Anyway, it's a choice-based horror game, but it's all about the butterfly effect. Or at least is the idea that it's like you do one small thing, and that like the whole idea of the butterfly effect is like one small change can lead to drastic consequences. Life is Strange is another game that has a lot to do with that. That's a great game. It's like by doing one thing in episode 1, you end up causing something bigger later on. But it's also like the whole idea, like if time travel did exist, and it's like, so for example, like I think about it all the time. I'm like, oh, back in 4th grade, I said that really dumb thing, and everyone thought I was stupid. And I'm like, oh, if only I could go back and say the smart thing. But then it's like the amount of changes, like that would be considered a huge change in the butterfly effect. But it's like it could also be as simple as like I go back in time, and today I decide to wear a blue shirt instead of an orange one, and it's like that could be enough to have some kind of change. So it's sort of this like every choice you make is like building this sort of path, and if you were able to go back and change any of it even slightly, it would cause a completely different branch. And it's like it's really interesting shit. Because it's like, like the Flash has also had a lot to do with that. Like it's how the Flashpoint thing exists. Like the Flash's mom gets killed when he's a kid. And it's like, but how it happens is like his rival travels back in time to kill his mom to like sort of set him down the path of being the Flash. Infamous had another thing like that. There's a lot of like, again, time travel can be really cool, but also can get confusing so fast. But anyway, sorry, going back to my Flash thing before I get off track. He like goes back in time to save his mom, and then when he goes back to the present, his mom is alive, but like, now Superman landed in Metropolis instead of out in the countryside and like nuked half the city. And like Wonder Woman or like Aquaman and Wonder Woman are at war and like tearing the world apart. And like all this stuff's happening that's like making the world like instead like of Bruce Wayne's parents dying, Bruce Wayne died, and the dad became Batman and the mom became Joker. And they like handled their kid's death in different ways, and it's like a super interesting comic storyline.
Yo, that's kind of cool.
Well, yeah, and like that's like where the Thomas Wayne Batman comes from, like the Flashpoint Batman, like with the red emblem, and he uses guns. And it's like time travel again can be very interesting, but like Endgame tried its best to explain it in a more like scientifically sound way. But it's like no matter which way you slice it, time travel is just it makes a story so confusing. My Hero Academia was like heading in an area, and there was a huge theory for a long time that one of the like big things is that there was a time travel thing going on or a huge time travel thing going on, and luckily it got disproven. But like it got disproven like very recently. But like while that theory was like going around, I was so nervous because I'm like, man, if My Hero Academia suddenly gets time travel, it's gonna become so weird.
What was the theory?
Well, basically, actually, I guess I can go into because it's not really that big of spoilers. Well, spoiling season 5 a tiny bit. So characters or like Deku gets like more quirks. He gets all the past users' quirks. So there was a theory that the second and third users, because we got everyone else, that there was a theory that the second and third users, because how One for All gets passed along is through DNA. So everyone was like, okay, well, how did All for One's brother know to pass it on if he didn't know he had the quirk? So how would he know it's through DNA? Like how... Because he has to also be consciously aware that he wants to pass it along for it to work. So it's like, you can't say it was an accident. Like he like, like, I don't know, like they had a cut on their hand and so did he, and he, or like something along those lines. So he had to know about it. So there was a theory that Bakugo and Kirishima go back in time to meet All for One's younger brother, and then All for One's younger brother passes the quirk to Bakugo, and then when Bakugo dies, he passes the quirk to Kirishima, and then to sort of complete the loop of One for All. And the problem that I have with that is it gets super confusing, but the idea was that like Bakugo would make the ultimate sacrifice and go back in time to fix it, or to like keep this thing going, because like without One for All, well, how are you supposed to beat the big bad guy? And all that stuff. And it's like, and that was like the other another big like contender people said, like, oh, Horikoshi's hinting at it was because of his name. Like Bakugo is supposed to be Bakugo. Like, Bakugo in time. And it was like, man, that's dumb as hell.
They're really trying for that.
Yeah. And then we got a manga panel. Like the last panel was like the second user, like in the Vestige world, the second user turned around and had Bakugo's haircut, and it looked exactly like Bakugo, and everyone was like, oh, boom, we just got the confirmation. That's Bakugo. But the third user didn't look like Kirishima. And then the guy still has, I think maybe he said his name. But it's been proven that it's not Bakugo. So, or at the very least, the third user isn't Kirishima. I guess it's technically not completely off the table that it's Bakugo. So it's like, I guess if Deku suddenly starts using Explosion, which would be cool. Don't get me wrong. I still think that'd be cool. But anyway, so it was an interesting theory. There's all kinds of theories with My Hero Academia. Like another big one is that like All for One is Deku's dad, which I think has some potential. Especially because Horikoshi loves Star Wars. And it's like, I think it could make for a cool reveal. But like the thing is, like the reveals have to make sense. It can't just be for shock value and then figure it out later. Like, you know, there should be some setup and things like that before it. Like you should be building towards it consciously, not suddenly like, fuck it, let's just throw a wrench in the story and then I'll figure out how to explain it later. So it's like, you know, but I don't know. I still think there's definitely a bit of a loophole or a problem with like, okay, well, how did All for One's younger brother know to pass his quirk on? Because like it said that he didn't know he had it. So it's like unless he did know he had it, he just didn't have anything to pass on. And now that he got the power storing quirk from his brother, that he's able to do it now. But it's sort of like, you know, it's tough to say. But I don't know. Overall, I don't remember where I was going with any of that. I don't know. I don't remember why I went on that tangent. Oh, excuse me. But,
well, I'd asked you what the theory was behind the time travel stuff, and then you brought up other theories.
Okay, never mind. So yeah, there you go. Basically, there was a theory that Bakugo was going to go back in time. So that's pretty cool. There's more theories about or not less theories and more like for example, it's like, okay, well, if Aizawa looks or uses quirk on Invisible Girl, does that make her visible? And like if some of them have been disproven, like Horikoshi said that one's been disproven because he said that her quirk is a like mutation quirk. So it's like built into her DNA or whatever, she can't like switch it off. And then what was the other one? Eri being able to rewind All Might back to his prime, and then there being two All for or one for Alls running around, which would be OP as shit. All Might in his prime and Deku in his prime fighting like whoever, like no one would stand a chance. Like Prime All Might is literally the strongest character we've seen in My Hero Academia, and no one has been able to. Actually, that's not true. But he's like very, very strong character, and it's like, you know, Deku now. Again, without getting into like huge spoilers, he's gotten every other quirk. He's missing one quirk to complete his sort of arsenal. But I don't know. Since I'm talking about the manga, I'm not super excited with where it's heading because it kind of feels like Horikoshi suddenly speedrunning it, and I'm not the only one that I'm in a Discord server where people talk about the My Hero Academia manga, and everyone's like collectively like, okay, they're definitely rushing towards the end of this, right? Which makes me a little sad. But anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about that before I get into the major spoilers.
Season 6 is certainly gonna be quite the watch. Because from what I've heard from you, a lot of stuff goes down.
Yeah, no, it's pretty sweet. I reread through it recently, and it's real sick.
One of the shows that I like haven't been able to. Sorry, were you?
No, keep going. I
was gonna watch like Demon Slayer. I know like Demon Slayer season 2 is going on right now. They're still doing like the whole movie stuff, so it's like if you've seen the movie already, there's like no point in watching it. But I hope that like I'll be able to watch and enjoy Demon Slayer, you know, because the first season's pretty cool. The movie was pretty good. How'd you feel about like the end of the Demon Slayer movie?
Oh,
did you feel anything at all?
Nothing. Stone face.
What? That's crazy.
No, I didn't cry, but I definitely was sad. I don't want to spoil it. I think it was just the fact. No, I don't want. I can't. There's no way I can dance around it in a.
I must be
way.
a tear factory then. I must be a tear factory.
Well, yeah. When we were talking yesterday, and I was like, I mentioned that I cried at Anohana, and you were like, I think. Hold on. What did I say? I was like, yeah. I said, all right. Anohana got a couple tears out of me, and you were like, yes. and then it was like, and then you went on about like how underrated it is. But yeah, no, the thing is like those kind of depressing anime, are like I definitely want to watch Your Lie in April, but I'm like I definitely need some kind of break in between.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm like I watched Anohana and then My Neighbor Totoro and then Grave of the Fireflies, which My Neighbor Totoro was a good movie, but that was not enough of a breather between those two things. Like that show and that movie are fucking depressing. So it's like, cause like Grave of the Fireflies is like, I think it's considered like one of the saddest movies ever. Like not even animated, just ever. And I'm like, nah, I'd agree. Cause I'm like, before that, actually another movie that I cried at or almost cried or got very, very close. I think a few tears shed. And this is so embarrassing. So I'm gonna need everyone to just keep this secret between us, right? Between the podcast people. But spoilers for Captain America Winter Soldier. But so I saw that movie when it came out. 2014, right? So I'm 11 years old. I go to see this movie with my mom, and towards the end of it, Captain America is fighting Bucky, and he like saves Bucky from the thing, and then he gets like the helicarrier explodes, and then Captain America's like falling to the water in slow motion. And I remember sitting in a theater like dead silent, and I shed a couple tears, and I was like, and I had no shame at the moment, but now I'm in the moment, but now I'm like, holy fuck, that's embarrassing, because it's like it's definitely like it's supposed to be an emotional moment, but I'm like, oh my god.
Like how could I?
I didn't cry at Endgame. I didn't cry during that. I didn't cry in that's not true. I did cry during Infinity War. I cried after the fact. Didn't cry in the theater. Right? Spoilers for Infinity War. But at this point, it's been talked about to death. But when Spider-Man gets dusted, didn't cry in the theaters. Definitely sad. But then I watched a clip of it afterwards, and I remember my desk used to be over there by my closet, and I remember sitting there the next morning after watching the movie, watching that clip, and just being like, "Oh man, his spider sense told him he was gonna die, and he's just a kid." It's like, oh, it's so sad, and I cried. So anyway, yeah, I don't cry anymore. I shit you not,
You have no soul.
I had not cried this entire year, and still I haven't really had like a full-on like cry sesh, but I've had some tears now, thanks to Anohana.
It's a start.
Fireflies. So I think the other thing is that I've never liked crying, because like in school I would get made fun of for it. Like in gym class, like I get hit in the face with a dodgeball and start crying because I'm like, I don't know, it's just my natural reaction, I guess. And like I became known as the kid that would cry all the time, and I was always so upset about it that I cry more. That I think it's like I'm also a little bit better because the other reason with Anohana, the fuck was that? The other reason with Anohana, as to why I didn't, or as to why I cried, I think it's because I got so immersed in that show. Like I got really invested in these characters' lives. I know they're fake anime people, but like I still got really invested in these characters' lives. So it's like, yeah, I think that was the other, because there was there was a few times that I was like watching the episode and then it would end, and I had a moment where like, holy shit, it's over already. Like I thought I just started, and I'm like, I've been sitting here for 20 minutes watching this episode, and I like didn't even realize. And I'm like, 4 hours long. It did not feel like 4 hours. So I don't know. Overall, I going back to it, I really liked Anohana. It was real great. So now I gotta watch Your Lie in April.
Now you gotta watch something. Oh, now you gotta watch something happy.
But I will watch Your Lie in April eventually. I gotta watch what's it called, Your Name. That's another sad one I've heard about.
Oh yeah.
So
I cried during that one too.
Haven't
Your Name was
watched
so sad.
it.
There's another movie, Weathering with You. I haven't seen it myself, but I heard it's pretty good. So if you see Your Name, you should also watch Weathering with You.
Yeah, I'll probably there's because like what I want to do over the next like little bit is like I'm still just trying to work through my list of like big like popular shows, I guess. Like I still haven't hit a lot of like the big names. Like I'm just now getting to the Studio Ghibli movies. When I say getting through, that sounds like I'm like reluctantly like dragging myself through these movies. My Neighbor Totoro and Spirited Away gave me a very nice, like, there's a weird, like, almost nostalgic feeling for a movie I've never watched. And then Grave of the Fireflies is just fucking depressing, but everything else is, like, the other two movies I've watched have been great. So, yeah. Next week, I'll watch probably the Howl's Moving Castle, and then I'll be able to talk about that every week. I'm going to have a Studio Ghibli movie, at least one Studio Ghibli movie to talk about. Each week, maybe more sometimes because like I watched 2 this time, but you know we'll see. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But yeah, I think that's all I did this week was just watch anime. I didn't watch any live action shows. I didn't watch any movies.
I have sometimes like had Family Guy just like on the side while I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh or something. Kind of like a breather for me because like we've been investing ourselves into anime and whatnot, but then there's other shows too. I mean, obviously Family Guy isn't really worth watching, if I'm being honest. It's just there for like
I think sometimes just having some noise in the background is good.
Yeah.
It's usually what YouTube's been for me. I'll usually just throw on some YouTube videos and then do whatever. But I'm starting to like I really want to play more like video games and get invested in those stories because I love video games, but I'm kind of like I don't like there's a lot of great video game stories, but like since I've had my YouTube channel, it's pretty rare. I've gotten a lot better in the last like year or two. But it was like pretty rare where I would play a game outside of my channel. And like Scarlet Nexus, I played through that and I was like, oh man, I really wish I would have done a video on this. That being said, like Tales of Arise, I don't want to do a series on that. I want to just play that for myself. But I'm also worried that I'm going to play through it and be like, I should have done a series on this. I think the biggest is just like it's such a long game.
Yeah.
I think Tales of Arise is supposed to be like 60 hours. Scarlet Nexus was 20 is what I spent. So it's like it would have been like a 20 episode series on my channel. Which is definitely a lot. But the thing is that like some of the cutscenes in that game can last like 40 minutes. And it's like I mean, you're getting a lot of story, but it's also like, man, I just want to fight some robots. Like I'm sat here.
Are any of the cutscenes like ripped from the anime?
No. The anime came afterwards, and I do want to watch that. But actually, that might. Oh no, that won't be what I get into. The dub's not done yet. But I don't remember what I was gonna say. Oh no, the cutscenes of that game are so like there's 2 cutscenes. There's the shorter ones for like the less important moments, I guess. Where it's pretty much a slideshow. It's basically like 2 of the characters that are talking, their faces will pop up on like the top and then like kind of on like the like middle third. And then there's space at the bottom for subtitles. So they'll be talking and then it'll be an image of like the background or like so like you're in an area and you're like fighting a boss. It'll pause for a second and then like fade out, like taking like a screenshot of it. And then the other characters come in and start talking. So you'll just see their like reactions to it. And then it'll cycle through. So it's basically just a slideshow with like characters' reactions over top of it. Think like Sniper Wolf, but anime. So anyway, but then there's some like fully animated cutscenes that looked really good. I just wish they happened more often. I don't really know why I got used to it pretty quickly. I know a lot of people hated it, but I got used to it pretty fast, and then I was fine with it. There was just some moments, like some bigger story moments, where it'd be like animated cutscene, and then it was almost like it lagged, but it was just freezing to go into slideshow mode. So it's like, but like most characters that died got like a dedicated cutscene. It wasn't like a slideshow, which was nice. But like, I think one of the characters. Oh wait, no, never mind. No, they were talking about it afterwards, and that was a slideshow. And like his body was in the thing. So, anyway, but Really enjoyed Scarlet Nexus. I want to play through Tales of Rise because I just want to play some more video games. Because like, I'm not even kidding. In the last like week, I think I've only played Yu-Gi-Oh. That is the only video game I've played in the last week.
I've tried to play a little bit of Pokemon here and there, and then I've been looking into some of the games. I might try to play, like I said, I'm going to try to play Inscription. I've been wanting to play Cuphead. That's also on my list.
It's a great game. I got a Cuphead shirt. Not right now, but I love Cuphead. It's a great game. But yeah, I haven't touched my Switch in a while. I played my PS3 a little bit. I got that here. I played my PS3 a little bit because I wanted to play through Infamous, and I played it for like 15 minutes. But anyway, I think that's a pretty good stopping point, unless you want to.
Yeah,
unless you have some stuff you want to mention.
No, we can go ahead and wind down. Thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode of the Shūmatsu podcast. This has been Davis and Matthew.
Hi.
Yeah, hello. And also, goodbye.
Bye.